What's up, guys? Welcome to the We the Dreamers podcast. I'm Kate. This is my sister Courtney, and we're really excited to be doing more in this format. We're sisters, bloggers, creatives, BFFs, obviously, and we've been blogging for like 4 or 5 years now on wethedreamers.com, having conversations about everything from life to creativity to design, home decor, kind of just like lifestyle stuff. And we thought this would be a really fun format, having some of these conversations in a podcast form just to kind of make it more personal and fun. I don't know. Courtney's here in Los Angeles where I live. Courtney lives in New York. Yeah. So sorry, I'm like talking for you.
No, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. We've got our mango margaritas that my brother-in-law Brett made us.
Brett made us some mango margaritas that are like very bespoke, and they're in these cute little glasses.
Mm-hmm. Freaking delicious. It's pretty hot. I was talking this morning to our mom about I never realized how hard it is to dress for LA. So I have given you a lot of crap because of the amount of layers you always wear and bring.
All my sweaters, yeah.
But this morning, I was like, Mom, I finally understand because like I didn't pack enough layers. But like 1 second, you are so hot. Yeah. And then the next I'm freezing if the sun, is covered up or something. So I apologize for making fun of you for like my whole life because I'd always be like, why do you have 7 coats on?
I really accept that apology. I appreciate it. That counts for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. But no, it's true. It's totally true. It's really like, it's amazing, but it's really weird. Like the Pacific Ocean is so cold. So if there's a breeze off the ocean, if you're on the west side of LA and it's like cloudy or something, it feels like like 20 degrees cooler. Yeah, I've lived here for 15 years. I still have not figured it out. Like, I still am constantly like, someday I'll have a wardrobe that's appropriate for living.
Well, and
here.
It's like if I'm just chilling at your house or mom and dad's, I'm like, okay, I can like borrow a sweatshirt. But when you're out at a restaurant and you like find yourself, and you're like, I'm freezing, I didn't bring another layer.
Yes.
It's like, it's so weird. So
I appreciate that you understand now why I'm like a camel with my tote bag with like 3 different coats in it, because it is like it directly impacts your experience. If you're too hot or too cold, you have to like know what's up. So yeah, it's a special thing, but it's really fun to have her out here. It's extremely hot today. We're barbecuing and like having a great time. We got our dogs together, which is like very cute, like a cousin hang for my little rescue Heinz 57 poodle schnauzer mix and your little Frenchie, who's so cute.
Yeah, they're cute cousins. I feel like Frenchie, his name's Gus, he tries to get Nola to play all the time, and it's been really fun to watch them together. It's great to have him here with me, so hopefully right now he's not ruining your house.
No.
But I'm trusting Grandma and Grandpa with to make sure he doesn't ruin anything. But once we go inside, I'm going to be very
It's hard to ruin things. Like, our house is very much designed for it. It's like, we don't even have any kids yet, but like my husband, like Brett and I are not like the type of people who can exist in a house where there's like things you have to like seal now and then. Like, we took the marble off the countertops. We took it has to be, like, our couch is one of those leather couches that's, like, purposely, like, distressed. Yeah. Because we were like, we will distress it immediately if it's...
No, I mean, I think that's how I'll always be, too. Because it's, like, even with a dog, it's, like, you can't be too precious about stuff. No. And it's, like, I don't know, I prefer it to be cozy and comfy rather than, like, a museum vibe.
Yeah, like, this is my house.
I'm on board.
I am drinking wine in my pajamas, and, like, I want to sit on the couch, and it can't be stiff. I got to be able to put my feet up, like, this is not for impressing people, that's a whole other podcast episode about, like, how to, like, harmonize form and function, because Brett accuses me all the time of being all about form over function, like, it has to be pretty, and it can't be comfy, and I'm like, bullshit. I am about both. There's a balance that can be struck. It is possible.
I think you're really good at that. I literally was just saying, like, I want to just give her my credit card someday when we own a house. We obviously rent in New York City because the cost of living is a joke. But someday, once we have a house, I want to be like, here is my credit card. Here's the budget. Because I haven't mastered that yet. Like, I'm the kind of person, like, I can't mix and match colors really well. I get, like, nervous that stuff's not gonna match. So I just go neutral. So I'm excited for the day where I feel like mine's more like function over form, and I feel like there's a balance and I think you have struck it.
I don't know. Struck? Yeah.
Striked?
Thank you.
Struck?
Struck.
Coming from the copywriter.
That's cool. It's all good.
It's the margarita.
Absolutely. It's the mango marks.
Yeah.
No, but I love it. I'm all about it. I'm here for it. Like, that will be a really fun adventure. I love your style. I think you have great taste. I think it's like, I honestly feel like it took me, like, I wrote a blog post about this a couple years back about all of the shit that I did in my old apartments, decor, design-wise, that makes me absolutely cringe now. And I think it's like fashion, where, think about the shit that we wore in, like, the 2000s, even in college, and, like...
Hairstyles?
Oh, like, my first gigs, my first tours, when things were, like, really, probably, like, the tours when, like, the most people attended the shows, like, some of the stuff that I wore, I am... absolutely mortified. Like, and so I think it's like that with design too, where it takes a long time to, like, develop your style and figure out what you like. And then I also think there's so much stuff you can't do when you're renting. So when
That's a thing.
You know, like, this is the first place we've ever owned, and I've totally changed, like, what I like, because what I can do is totally different. Like, I can paint the walls, I can make a hole in the wall, and it's not a horrible end of the world, if you know, like...
No, that's such a good point. I feel like our cousin, Paige, is really good at, she rents in New York, like, 4 blocks from me, and it's gorgeous. She's made, like, it looks like she owns the place because it's, like, wallpaper, wainscoting, like, is that what it's called, wainscoting?
Yeah, wainscoting, yeah.
And she asked the landlord, like, can we do this? And they're like, yeah, I mean, and if the next tenant likes it, like, you don't have to take it down. I mean, but I'm like, I wish I had, first of all, the energy.
Sure, it takes a lot.
The, like, creative, I don't know, like, I'm just not, I'd rather someone else do it, but then also I'm, like, thinking about taking it down eventually makes me just, like, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
So right now it's like, okay, it's cute enough.
Yeah.
And, like, cozy enough to live in, but I'm like, I don't have the energy right now. I'm just going to save it for when we, like, own or we know we're going to be there for, like, 5 years.
100%. I think there's different, I was like that too when we were renting, because it was just like, it was too stressful to think about, like, if I have to take this down. Because in the moment you're like, whatever, it's fine. Like, cool, we'll just take it down. But of course, like, I mean, we've moved so many times. We've never done a move where it's been, like, smooth sailing.
Oh, no.
By any means. Like, it's always been the most stressful day. Like, the day that we moved our shit into storage before we moved to Paris for 6 months, I think it was probably one of the top, like, stressful days of our marriage.
Yeah.
Of the 10 years of our marriage. Like, and so, so it's like, you think, oh, I'll be good. Like, I'll just fix it. Like, you know, and then the time comes to move and it's stressful. But everybody's different. Like, we'll have to do, like, a house tour of Paige's apartment at some point on the blog, because it's beautiful and it's so cute. And her mom's an unbelievable designer and, like, decorator. And they both find things. Like, she'll be like, look at this rug I got on Facebook Marketplace. Like, I drove to, like, wherever for it. And it's like, I'm in awe. Like, I am still afraid of Facebook Marketplace because I'm afraid I'm going to, like, get abducted or, like, whatever, XYZ, you know?
For sure. No, same. She has the best finds. And also, I think a key thing she has is a husband who is willing to do the project.
Yes.
And that's nothing against, like, you know, I think he's like, I ran into him the other day. He's like, on my way to get paint. We're painting the entryway.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And, you know, and he does it and they do it together. It's kind of like a fun thing. And it's like, I don't think that's my husband's idea of fun. And so, like, we do other stuff. Like, his idea of fun is, like, let's go get a beer and,
same.
like, go to Blink-182. and Trevor's like, yeah, like, let's do the home improvement project.
Totally.
You know, and so I think that's a key
that is
element.
That's a key element for sure. It's like, that is definitely not Brett's idea of fun either. I mean, he's down to clown. Like, I, you know, admittedly saddle our household with, like, all kinds of projects, all kinds of stuff. And, like, I remember, I feel like early on in our relationship, he was like, yeah, like, I'm excited, like, this is great, it's cool, I like what you're doing, but I'm excited for us to I'm excited for it to be done. And I was like,
ooh.
Oh, I was like, oh, no, you don't understand, like, it's not ever gonna be over. I was like, this is, like, what I love in life. I was like, ask my parents how many times I asked them if I could redecorate my room.
You enjoy it too, though.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. But there's definitely different, like, there's certain things that are not worth it given the circumstances. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's all about that. But I don't know. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a balance you can strike. It kind of depends on if you're renting, what resources you have. But ultimately, I think someday I'm like, I would love to just like hire you to do it because I'm like, I don't enjoy it as much as you do.
Dude, I'm all in.
So stay tuned.
I'm all in. Stay tuned for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't wait. Well, today we wanted to like kind of expand on a conversation that we started on our blog. We had this conversation about this blog post I wrote a couple years back about revenge and how, like, I think that this is sort of one of those, like, maybe this is the first of a series that's kind of calling bullshit on very common advice that you hear from people, you know, because I think that there are these tropes and there's these cliches that you hear all the time. And sometimes they have merit, but then sometimes also they do more harm than good. And I think this is one of those that for me has been like kind of a toxic piece of advice. So if you've ever heard the advice, the best revenge is success, then this is for you. This is kind of about how I think people often recommend when you're going through something difficult, when you're going through a breakup, when somebody's hurt you, when, you know, you've sort of gotten into a situation where you feel like really bad about yourself and somebody has sort of caused you harm or been, you know, mean to you or like mistreated you. A lot of times what people will do is they'll immediately say, oh, well, you know what? You're going to do so much better. The best revenge is success. Just go out and be wildly successful. And that's the best revenge that you could get on these people or this group or whatever. And it's one of those pieces of advice that, like, on the surface, like, that's understandable. Whenever we feel hurt or we feel like someone mistreated us, obviously, like, the knee-jerk human reaction is like, well, like, F this person, like, I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna show them or whatever. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, sort of like just at face value. But like, I realized a couple years back in my life and in my career how toxic this advice was for me and how it was totally screwing me up and putting all this pressure on me to go out and be wildly successful. And that was the only way I was going to be free of feeling like mistreated or hurt by someone or by a group of people. So we wanted to kind of unpack that today because I feel like it's like a conversation worth expanding on. A lot of readers have given us like really positive feedback about this blog. So we were like, okay, let's unpack this. Let's figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it looks different for everyone, whether it's a, you know, revenge after a relationship that went, you know, ended poorly, whether it's a job or something. And so I feel like everyone can relate in some way. Like, you know, we've all felt shitty about ourselves after a certain situation and you kind of want to like one up the situation.
Yes.
But I think something that you mentioned was like, when you think about it, it's like, what's the motivation behind what you're doing? Like, who are you pleasing when you're getting revenge for the sake of success?
Totally. Yeah. Like I think that one of the things, like the catalyst for this blog post initially was when Brett and we spent some time living out here in Los Angeles when we first met. And then we moved to Nashville for a couple of years and I made a record there. And then we ended up moving back to LA like a couple years later. And when we did that, I kind of decided like to confront I'd always kind of in the back of my mind wondered, do I want to ever do any more acting? Because I accidentally kind of fell into acting when I signed a record deal. I was touring. I got this job on this TV show, One Tree Hill. I played a bunch of my music on the show, but I was also kind of like accidentally like fell into the role of being an actress on the show, which was you know, a really cool creative experience in a lot of ways. But it was also a really like complex experience. That it was a really predatory environment, like thanks to someone at the top who, you know, we were all working for. And it was like kind of a nightmare from that standpoint. So it really affected me personally and professionally in that sense. So there was like a lot of baggage that was tied to the idea of acting. And I never intended to really be an actress in the first place. And so then after that show was over, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to put that on the back burner and make some records, move to Nashville. So we come back to LA and I was like, let me just see if this is something I ever want to do more of, you know? So I hired this acting coach who was a great person, friend of a friend, you know, talented person, but one of the first things she said to me when I told her about my experience, you know, on the TV show and how I had some of this like personal baggage tied to like the predatory environment and like this guy, she immediately just said, "Oh, honey, the best revenge is success." And she kind of went on this thing about when you're accepting an award for X, Y, and Z, you know, he'll be sorry and like all this stuff. And like, after the lesson, like, I just couldn't figure out what it was that was bugging me. Something that was just weighing on me. You know, that feeling when you're like, something's up and I don't know what it is. And then I realized, like, holy shit, that piece of advice just put all this pressure on me that, like, now I feel like I have to go become the most successful actress on the planet in order to get revenge, in order to sort of, like, heal from some of this stuff that I've really struggled with, you know, with this person and with this experience on this show. And I was like, this isn't a good place to be. Like,
No.
you know, like, I think that, so what you're saying, like, the motivation behind me wanting to be successful as an actress wasn't anything to do with my own personal desires or, like, passions in life. I was totally sitting there thinking, I have to go be a gangbusters success at acting now because I need to get revenge, or I need to like show this person who like I feel like really manipulated me and, you know, made me feel like garbage about myself. I need to go show them by being super successful, which is the wrong place entirely to be doing that from.
Yeah, because it's like at the end of the day, it's still not about you. It's still about him. And your mental energy could be used doing things that are true to yourself and not to this person. But I totally get it. I totally get why that's tempting, because you kind of want to like show people like, you know, you messed up, or like, you know, I'm better than I was, than you thought, or whatever. And I think like it is tempting to do. And I think a lot of people get that advice.
Yeah.
You know, across different experiences. So I think like, I guess after you heard that from, you know, the acting coach, who for sure meant well.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
How did you like approach your career and your work? Like, how did that change once you kind of came to that realization that like, this isn't the vibe?
Yeah, totally. I think that, I mean, it's something I'm still working on. I think it's really easy to like think that there's a light switch that gets flipped and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to approach this from the right place mentally. You know what I mean? It's like totally a daily thing and something that I find myself in seasons of like really struggling with. But I think it all comes down to like, I realized external validation, whether it's from people who I respect or people who I don't. That's why I was like, you know, it's like, what's the, what's that like quote about like too many people spend too much time and money doing things they don't want to do to like impress people they don't even like.
Yes.
It's kind of that thing. Like, I think I'm butchering that quote, but it's something in that universe. And I was like, I cannot go chasing like something, and I can't go putting my time and energy into something, like into pursuing massive success at something because I'm looking for validation from A, other people, but B, especially people who have like hurt me.
And like do not have your best interests at heart.
Right. So like why on earth would I even spend one more minute thinking about that person or doing anything in the spirit of showing that, even if it's to like be like, ooh, they're going to be so mad when they see how successful I am. It's like, no, I would rather not waste another ounce of energy like on that person or that group at all. Like, you know, and I think that, so it is a continual, like it's something I have to work towards, because I think, you know, that's not the only incident in my life, by the way, that has sort of elicited that type of advice from other people. Like I was telling you, when I first started writing songs in high school, you know, I felt like I got my heart broken by this guy, and I was like super young and just totally had not yet tuned into the like, he's just not that into you type thing yet. You know, we all have that naive like first breakup where you're like, oh, that person really was trying to shake me loose and I did not catch the signals.
We've all been there.
You know,
like, he's playing hard to get.
Yeah, totally. I was like, oh my God, these boys, you know. Like, they're just totally so aloof. That's their personality. And it's like, no.
It's like, oh my God, he's like hanging out with another chick or four.
Right. He's like literally hooking up with girls who like drink and party, who are like 18 and you're 15 and like still a little awkward and like, you know, a bookworm. But, you know, so anyways, all of that, like, really, there was this one breakup in my freshman year of high school that was the catalyst for me writing songs. And I remember having this feeling of like, I'm going to show him. He's going to regret that he ignored me. He's going to regret that he like didn't really like ask me to be his girlfriend and, you know, and all this stuff. And it's like, I think that there's so many instances where whether it's like a job thing, you know, or a romantic thing or a friend thing or a million things where it's really easy to get caught up in that. But, you know, yeah, ultimately I was like, I can't hand this person the satisfaction of knowing that I'm taking all the action in my life, that I'm pursuing this success because I want to impress them or show them or get revenge. Like, they are still dictating all your actions.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's like, so they still have that power over you.
They have that power, yeah. Like, and I know, like, you have probably heard this advice before, too, right? Like, from a work standpoint, do you feel like when you've left certain jobs, people have kind of, like, thrown this at you, in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, full transparency, I just got laid off, like, last week, and a lot of people have said, like, you're gonna find something so much better, and I'm like, that's really cool advice, and I appreciate you, like, building me up.
Right.
But, like, I don't want the motivation to be like, I'm like, I really liked this job. I really liked the people, and I'm sad about it. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, I don't know if, like, I don't want to try to, like, top it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I was talking to our dad about, like, maybe I just have to, like, nurture some of my own interests for a while rather than, like, continue to climb the corporate ladder and make more money than my last job and, like, show the people that, you know, whatever, like, I can be successful outside of this company. And this happened to me, I think, like 4 years ago when I left a company, and it was a vibe of like, I left, but they also were like, we'd rather have this dude do your job. And so I was also kind of like gently pushed out, and I felt like shit about myself after. And I was like, I'm going to show them. And I like took a job that really didn't interest me that much because they were paying me like a ton more. Yeah. And I'm like, first of all, nobody at the old company even knew how much I was making. They don't care. The second you sign the NDA, they're like, sweet, she can't sue us. We're good. Peace. Like, your email, it's over. Like, they don't care. And I think that also just shows, like, your motivation, like, it can't be for other people. And it's like, I took that job, and it was, like, I liked it, and I, like, you know, right at the time, I needed the money. But, like, 4 months later, I ended up finding something else because I was like, I didn't even want this job. I just wanted to show them, like, yeah, within a month I had a job offer that was better and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I don't even want to do this job. Like, this isn't even, like, you know. So I'm like, that was kind of a version for me that was career-related where it showed me. And I'm sure I've done it in relationships in the past, too. Yeah. But I think anymore, I'm like, I just have to really be true to myself. And sometimes it's hard to even know what is true to yourself. Like, sometimes I feel like I have a hard time, like, tapping into my intuition. But I think, like, what you said, like, you just have to think, like, what's the motivation behind this? Is this to impress people? Is this to impress one person? Is this to get back at someone? And it's, like, anymore, it's, like, as I've gotten older, I just have to realize, like, is this true to myself? Is this what I want to spend my time doing? You know? So I totally get that. I think it applies to so many things in life. And I think, like, I guess my question for you would be like, and if you don't have an answer, that's fine, because it's something I ask myself, is like, what is the best revenge? Is revenge even the right way to go? Or, like, I guess sometimes I'm like, revenge isn't the vibe in the first place.
Totally, 100%. Like, that's such a good question, too, because I think that is, like, central to this whole conversation in so many ways. And, like, the idea of, oh, the best revenge is success. It's like, we shouldn't even be talking about what is the best revenge. Like, I think, and by the way, I'm not talking about, like, justice. Like, if somebody has wronged you in some way, like, absolutely you hold them accountable, right? Like, we're not talking about that. There are plenty of instances, like, you know, in life, in this country, in the world, where that is very much called for, you know, and unjust things happen all the time to communities, to individual people. But, you know, we're kind of talking about these types of things that happen in your life, you know, jobs, career, and relationship and friendships, where you can feel really tempted to be like, I'm gonna get revenge on this person, not like crazy violent revenge, but revenge in like, I'm gonna make them regret this. I'm gonna show them. That's kind of, you know, what this sort of type of revenge that we're talking about is. And it's totally toxic as a concept, I think. Like, I think it's completely coming from the wrong place, you know. This is also just personally what works for me. So I'm not saying that, you know, if getting revenge is something that makes somebody feel like it drives them and it helps them, then that has not been my experience. But I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying I think it's a negative thing that ultimately kind of seems like it revolves around hurting people. And it's sort of like hurt people, right? Like when you're hurt, which is totally a valid emotion, you know, there's a human tendency to be like, well, I'm going to make this other person feel like shit because I feel like shit. Even if it's not conscious, you know, even if it's not like at the top of your consciousness, I think underneath that sometimes is the driving factor. I actually love Brett, my husband, has this concept of prove them right, which is basically the opposite of prove them wrong. So instead of working to prove the people who doubted you wrong, you instead are motivated by proving the people who believe in you right.
Oh, I love that.
Which I think is so cool, because it's like, you think about, like, you know, you and Dad talked about, like, you had a really great conversation following all this stuff that happened with your job, and he helped kind of put some things in perspective and, like, gave you some advice, which he and Mom and you have done for me a million times in my life. And I love the idea of, like, proving you guys right. And that doesn't mean that I have to go sell 1 billion records or become the most successful, you know, musician or designer or blogger. Like, it just means like, hey, there's people in my life who are rooting for me, who believe in me. I am gonna like move forward in the spirit of like what I want, what's true to me, what makes me happy. And I'm gonna prove them right in terms of like the fact that they have my back and they believe in me, instead of being like, I'm gonna prove this piece of shit wrong because he or she, you know, or they made me feel terrible about myself, or this group, you know, whatever. I think that's a really kind of better place to take action from, where you're leaning on your community instead of kind of leaning on the, you know, banking on the possibility of making someone else feel bad or regret something. You know?
Absolutely. And I think when you start from that place rather than a place of like, I need to get back at someone, you probably end up doing things that are truer to yourself. And maybe like it doesn't look as successful, maybe it does, as if you were to approach it from like a revenge vibe. But I think your motivation behind doing it is right, and you're focusing on yourself, not on the other person. And I think that that's just like a lot more productive and healthy way to approach the situation. And I think that's something I just like, it comes up a lot, and I just have to remind myself of that, and just like be true to what I want. Like that person, that, you know, that company, that whoever, whatever situation, like they don't deserve more of my mental energy.
Totally.
So I'm gonna put it towards, you know, I love that, proving people right, like like showing people that like I believe I'm worthy of a cool, you know, life or job or situation, and I'm just gonna do what feels right to me. So I think I feel like it's a lesson I'll learn again, but like it does feel good to just talk about, because I do feel like it comes up across a lot of areas of our life.
Oh yeah, it does. It comes up, and it comes up in like different ways. Like I feel like it sneaks up on you. Like I bet if you're a parent like this, and some kid is like an asshole to your kid, you know, like I bet there's like you know, we're not parents yet, so like I don't know, but I can imagine that there's so many different like areas of life where it can be so tempting to be driven by the idea of making someone else regret hurting you, or making someone else feel bad about mistreating you, you know, and I think that it's just, it's like you said, the motivation, you know, it's and also I think you brought up such a good point too about like, you know, the other person isn't sitting around wondering, like, I wonder if, you know, she's doing well, or I wonder if she, like, people, especially somebody who, or a group who's like made you feel bad, who hasn't recognized like your worth, or who has like mistreated you, like, they aren't like the type, why would you want to impress that person anyways? Why would you, you know, they're not sitting around thinking about you. They totally, like, you know, they in the first place made you feel terrible about yourself. So yeah, giving any more mental energy to something, to any action taken in the spirit of, like, you know, getting that person's attention.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like trying to get the attention of that person. I feel like that was like very much when I was in high school. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start like playing shows and like make records, and like I'm going to get a record deal and like do all this, and I'm going to get this person's attention, and they're going to feel awful. And I did all of that. Like, I did it.
You delivered.
I delivered. Like, it was, you know what I mean? And it's not like, oh wow, that solved something for me.
And now you're like, okay, I'm good. I got closure and I'm healed.
Right. And, you know, all this to say, I also, that was my dream in the first place, to like make music and be a singer-songwriter anyways. So it's not like I pursued my career entirely because I was trying to get revenge on this like ex-boyfriend, but it was definitely like part of my motivation. And I think it was a big thing for me early in my career, when I realized I had to find motivation from my passion and my desire to do this, and that it wasn't working. It wasn't working to try to get this guy's attention and make him feel bad about being an asshole. You know, that was not solving the issue for me. Even if he did feel bad, even if he, you know what I mean? Like, I think there have been times where there's been somebody who, you know, I've wanted to kind of like get back at, you know, and, you know, even if they do feel guilty or apologize or, you know, any of that, it doesn't work. Like,
No.
it's the best way to do something is in the spirit of like what's true to you. And it's your life. Like, that's the other thing. It's like,
I think one of the biggest things, like, I always have to remind myself of, and I don't mean this in the bad way, is like, people aren't really thinking about me. They're thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
Like, nobody gave a shit what I wore to that wedding.
right.
They were thinking about themselves. No, like, you know,
Yeah.
like, people aren't like, oh, I wonder, like, what she's, it's like, you know, sometimes you see people who go through breakups, and then, like, on Instagram, they immediately start posting, like, bikini pics and blah, blah, and I'm like, if that
Totally.
makes you feel good about yourself, and, like, you know your ex is gonna see it, like, go for it, but it's
for
like,
it.
you can always tell, it's like, oh, like, they must have broken up.
Yep.
Because, like, here come the vibes of, like,
Here comes a little bit of a thirst trap, and nothing wrong with it, because it's different. Again, this is different stuff for different people.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like maybe a Band-Aid instead of a permanent solution.
for sure. And I'm like, if that helps, like, totally. Like, I've
Yeah.
definitely been guilty of that too. Like, oh, I want to see this person. I want this person to see me having a blast.
Oh yeah.
And feel bad. But, like, at the end of the day, the person probably, like, scrolled and was like, oh, cool, blah, blah, blah. Not, like,
Oh, totally.
we don't care.
Exactly.
We don't care what Courtney's up to. And it's like, it's okay.
That's okay.
That they don't, because they're thinking about themselves too.
Exactly. And living your life with like the anticipation of hoping someone else will see something and feel a certain way is ultimately, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not focusing on yourself. You're not being true to yourself. You're literally still letting that person run your life and your decisions. And I mean, yeah, it is a lesson you learn over and over, but I think it's a really good conversation. And it's a testament too to the idea of, you know, it sounds cheesy, and sometimes I feel like this is like one of those cliches that's easier said than done, but it speaks to defining success for yourself and deciding what that looks like for you. Because sure, maybe the best revenge is success, you know, but ultimately focusing on revenge isn't necessarily coming from the right place, and success should look like whatever it is that you feel like success looks like. Because I, like, you know, as a musician, I at one point thought that success looked like signing a record deal.
Yeah.
Well, then I signed a record deal, and I wanted success to look like selling, you know, 250,000 albums. Well, then I did that. And then I wanted success to look like selling 1 million albums or winning a Grammy. And guess what? I've never won a Grammy, and no one buys albums anymore. So it's like the target always moves.
Yes.
I think when you focus on somebody else's idea of success, or like society's idea of success, you know, whatever the sort of I don't know, barometer looks like from the general public. And unless you look at your own life and what you value and what you care about and say, what do I feel like looks like being successful in my life as a human, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, as, and in my career too. It shifts everything when you kind of make that decision for yourself and write it down and try to remind yourself, because it comes back, I end up falling back into the trap a million times a day of trying to live up to and be validated by other people's definition of success,
Yeah, I'm like curious, I guess, like just to put a bow on everything for you right now, and I think it changes as you go through different seasons. Like right now for you, what does success look like?
It's a great question. I think right now for me, success looks like, it's kind of a working definition, but like for me, what success really looks like is like waking up every day and solving creative problems in my work. Like I've learned that I really love to solve creative problems, like whether I'm writing a song and trying to find the right lyric, or whether I'm writing a blog post and making a video and, creating content and trying to sort of design the best like video or photo or song or whatever it is that I'm creating. I really enjoy solving creative problems. So if I can wake up every day and know what it is that I'm working on, and if it can be something creative that I care about, that's success for me, right? And so because there've been times when, like as an entrepreneur, as a musician, as a freelancer, like I'm a slash, right? Like I have so many different things going on. The music business has completely changed since I started. So you really can't just do one thing anymore when you're a creative. I think that's probably something a lot of people who freelance or side hustle can relate to. Things, you have to get creative. You have to know how to pivot. And so sometimes that can leave me with like certain seasons where there's a couple weeks where I don't know what I'm working on every day. And that's hard. Then I don't feel successful because I'm like, that gives me time to stew in my, I sit around thinking I can think my way into knowing what to do next, when it's really about like, I just want to be know what I'm working on, and have it be something I care about that's creative, that hopefully can inspire somebody else to have a better day for 5 minutes, to feel more creative, I think that's always been my goal with like my music, has been like, oh, hopefully this will help like unlock something for somebody, or make them feel better for a couple of minutes, or, not solve anybody's problem in perpetuity, but help somebody else feel inspired, help somebody else feel, less stuck, more creative. I think that's always been my goal with like all of what we create with We the Dreamers, is just like inspiring people to, to be themselves, to be able to think creatively and get out of their own way, because that's been one of my biggest struggles in my life and my career, is getting out of my own way. And so I think that for me, that looks like success in my job. And then in like my life and stuff, it's like if I can spend time with my family and friends and laugh, if I can, be curious and find new experiences, whether it's like I have the budget to travel that year, or whether it's just like doing a picnic in the park and like doing something, like for fun, that's creative, that's not gonna be anything, like having the courage to be shitty at a new hobby. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing I know that we always talk about.
Yeah. Like what about you? How do you feel like success? What do you think that looks like for you?
I think like right now it's very simple for me, because I'm kind of at a point where I'm not really sure what's next career-wise.
Yeah.
I don't have like a huge sense of direction,
Yeah.
but I don't want to put pressure on myself to make that decision. Honestly, I think right now success for me looks like liking myself and accepting myself.
Love that.
Exactly where I am. Because it can feel really vulnerable to be like, I don't have a job. I don't have like a steady source of income right now. I'm not really sure what that looks like. So I think like liking and accepting myself is like the first thing. And then just like showing love to the people in my life, and like just trying to be a joyful, good person. Obviously, like being able to be vulnerable and like feel my emotions is a big thing, because I think I can be someone who like sugarcoats and like everything's fine. So I think like liking myself where I am, accepting myself where I am, and then like showing love and being vulnerable, I think for me, like in life and career right now, is like pretty much it sounds like a very like low bar.
No.
But I'm like, I just have to accept myself where I am right now. Like, even though like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel like, you know, a piece of shit because I don't really have anything on the docket for the day.
Yeah.
You know, and like my husband has like 11 calls in a row and he's like crushing it. And I'm like,
Totally.
I have to stop comparing and just be like, you are enough right now. You are worthy right now. You're going to find, you know, you're going to figure it out. Just like be creative. You know, Dad made a metaphor of like right now, you know, you have this garden and let's say you have like 5 or 6 plants and these are different things you're interested in. You could see yourself doing. Maybe some of them bring in revenue, you know, like an Etsy shop.
Sure.
Some of them right now is like a business idea you have that will not bring in revenue right now, but is something you think is cool. And he's like, you know, some of these plants are going to each week, like some of these plants are going to get more water than others. Like maybe you water, you know, the Etsy plant a little more because you know that that can bring in revenue, but then 10% of your time you're watering this cool business idea. And then obviously we have so much cool stuff we want to do with Re the Dreamers, which I feel like now I can dedicate a lot more time to.
For sure.
So I think for me, like you said, like doing something creative, but also just like accepting myself where I am and like not making myself feel like shit. I feel like that's something I have to remind myself of all the time. So I think for me right now, like that's as far as I can go. But like if I can do that, I'll continue to move forward and I'll figure it out.
Dude, that truly, like you saying that that's a low bar, I think it's the opposite of that. Like I think that's the high, like that is, it's so crazy because you asked me a question like, what's success look like for you? And I don't even think to say that because that's how bad I am at loving myself where I am, at like accepting myself right where I'm at. So I think that is the best possible definition of success anyone could have because it all starts with that, right? Like it's impossible to appreciate, be grateful for things in your life, to give love to other people, to give love to your work, whatever that is, if you don't accept yourself right where you are and love yourself despite like being in a tough season or not knowing what direction you're going in next. Like I think that is literally the prerequisite for everything. So that's truly the best answer like I think you could possibly give. Like I think that's your head and your heart are in the right place with that and it's so good. Like I feel like I need to hear that for sure.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't mean I don't work on myself and like try new things. It's more just like whatever I accomplished today, it was enough.
Yeah.
You know, tomorrow's a new day. I feel like it's a hard mindset to have and I have to remind myself of it. But I think like, yeah, that's gonna ultimately lead me in the right direction, I hope.
Totally.
But we'll see.
You're doing things in the right, like, yeah, it's coming from the right place. And I think that makes all the difference, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know anything about like vibrating on frequencies or like whatever. Like I know there's people, like I have friends who are super into that and I'm going to probably sound like an idiot talking about it. But I do think, like, I do believe there's some merit to like, that puts you in the right space, right? You're coming at things from the right space. And I think that's when the universe or whatever tends to show up and like help nudge you in the direction that you need to go, you know?
And you just like trust that it's all working out. Like I know that sounds so dumb sometimes, but like it helps me to just be like, okay, like it's all going to work out. I don't have to, there's been so many times in the past week where I'm like, I have to rapid fire, apply to jobs and like figure it out. And it's just like, let's take a step back.
Totally.
You know, I mean, obviously, like, I'm in a privileged position right now because, you know, I have someone who can support me financially.
Sure,
like, I know there are a lot of people who are like, I don't have the luxury of sitting around and thinking about what I want to do. Like, I get that.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure after a month, like, New York City rent, I'm going to be like, girlfriend's got to get some steady income. So, like, take that with a grain of salt because I know that that's, like, a very privileged place to come from. But I think, regardless, just, like, liking myself, accepting myself, I think, I don't know.
That's important to do, even if you do get to a place like, you know, I've had those seasons for sure where, you know, couldn't do any touring for 3 years during the pandemic, which was like my main income for my entire adult life. And you're like, okay, I have to figure something out. There's no option other than figuring something out, you know, to sort of make up for this. But that doesn't mean I can't love myself right where I'm at, even if I'm like hustling hard
at something I don't even like.
Out. Yeah, exactly. Even if I'm doing something in the interim that like is not my dream in order to take care of my family, take care of myself, pay my rent, you know, there's still, those things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, I think it probably is more important than ever to love yourself when you're in a space where you are forced to sort of, you know, do something that's maybe not wouldn't be your first choice in order to, you know, get where you need to go or take care of yourself and all of that. So
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. It's like definitely a conversation that I think is like ever evolving for me, but I love that like we decided to make this like one of our first conversations because it's really something that like comes up again and again and again.
Yeah.
And yeah, because there's always going to be like weird shit in life. Like there's going to be people, there's going to be, you know, groups of people, there's going to be like vibes throughout your whole life where you feel like mistreated or, you know, just bummed or like someone hurt you. And, you know, it is like over and over again something that I feel like I have to learn every time and remind myself of like, oh, actually, I need to focus on what success looks like for me and not worry about, you know, proving something to people who really don't deserve any more of my time.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it feels good to talk about, and I think a lot of people can relate. I'm sure we'll continue learning this lesson, but
Totally.
I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I got a lot out.
Me too. Yeah, it's like I feel like I have a feeling this is going to be kind of like a therapeutic vibe, but that's sort of like all the podcasts that I like to listen to, all the videos that I like to watch on YouTube and stuff. Like I just, you know, I think that it's also why I like, you know, was drawn to writing music. Like I think there's a human need to sort of like know that you're not the only one, that other people deal with this bullshit too.
Yeah.
And it's normal and like it's good to talk about it. It's good to acknowledge it, you know.
It's
and,
a
like,
form of connection.
Yeah.
And I think definitely feels good to talk about. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready for another margarita.
Ready for another mango margarita. Ready for round 2. Gonna smash some barbecue.
Yeah.
Like it's all
Exactly.
happening. Well, I love this. I'm so glad that you're here and I'm excited to chat about more stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this podcast. It's one of our first. So please like give us feedback. Let us know like what subjects you'd like us to tackle next, like what stuff, you know, you like and don't like. And we like love getting ideas for conversations and videos from our community. So be sure to subscribe for more episodes soon and let us know in the comments like what kind of videos, what kind of podcasts, what kind of conversations you'd like to hear next. Thanks again for tuning in and we'll see you guys next time.